Welcome back to the channel World Coins Master everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's video where we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and incredible stories in the world of coin collecting. We are about to explore the remarkable journey of a coin that at first glance looks like just another ordinary penny you might find in your pocket change, but in reality, it holds a value that goes far beyond its humble 1-cent face value. We're talking about the 1953 D wheat penny, a coin that has shocked collectors and investors alike with its astronomical value of $410 million, all thanks to the rare errors, mistakes, and unique minting anomalies that make it one of the most extraordinary coins in United States history. So stay tuned, because this is not just about a penny, this is about history, rarity, and the hidden treasures that might still be out there waiting to be discovered. When we think of a penny, we rarely stop to imagine how it could change someone's life forever. After all, most of us pass them along without even noticing. We toss them into a drawer, drop them into a jar, or give them away without a second thought. But coin collectors know that the value of a coin is not always in its face value, but in its story, its rarity, its mistakes, and the unique journey it has taken from the mint to today. The 1953 D wheat penny is one such coin, and its story begins in Denver, where millions of pennies were struck, but only a handful ended up becoming some of the most sought-after treasures in the world of numismatics. The Denver Mint in 1953 was responsible for producing pennies with the famous wheat reverse, a design that had been in use since 1909, created to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. These coins carried the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the two stalks of wheat framing the words 1 cent on the reverse. At first glance, there is nothing unusual about a 1953 D wheat penny, but as collectors have discovered, a small number of these coins left the mint with incredible flaws. These errors and variations are what drive the astronomical value we are talking about today, making an ordinary coin something worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's talk about what makes this coin so valuable. In the world of coin collecting, there are several types of errors that can occur during the minting process. These include double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, die cracks, clip planches, and even wrong metal strikes. Each of these types of mistakes can create a one-of-a-kind coin, and the more dramatic and unique the error, the higher its potential value. The 1953 D wheat penny happens to be associated with a range of these possibilities, and that's why collectors are willing to pay incredible sums for them. One of the most talked about errors on the 1953 D wheat penny is the double die. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been engraved twice in slightly different positions. This causes the design elements, such as the date, the lettering, or even Lincoln's profile, to appear doubled. Imagine looking closely at the date 1953 on a penny and seeing the numbers almost overlapping, as though there were a shadow behind them. To a casual observer, it might look like the coin is blurry or worn, but to an experienced collector, that doubling is a sign of a very rare and valuable coin. A strong double die on the obverse of a 1953 D penny can catapult its value into unimaginable heights. Another possibility lies in the repunched mint mark. Back in the 1950s, mint marks were hand-punched into the dies, which means that sometimes the letter D for Denver was accidentally struck more than once in slightly different positions. When you look at one of these repunched mint mark coins under magnification, you can see a shadow or partial outline of another D behind or above the main mint mark. This kind of anomaly fascinates collectors because it provides a tangible link to the way coins were made in that era. A 1953 D penny with a dramatic repunched mint mark can easily be worth thousands or even millions, and when combined with other errors, the value multiplies to the incredible 410 million figure that makes this coin legendary. But the story doesn't stop there. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet, the round piece of metal that will become the coin, is not properly aligned in the press. When struck, part of the design is missing, and the coin looks unusual because the portrait or lettering is pushed off to one side. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, these errors can be extremely valuable. A slight off-center strike might be worth a few dollars, but a dramatic off-center error, especially one that leaves part of the design cut off while still showing the full date and mint mark, can be worth a fortune. Imagine a 1953 D penny where Lincoln's face is pushed to the edge of the coin, leaving a blank crescent of copper visible. Such a piece is not just rare, it's a one-of-a-kind collector's dream. Clip planches add another layer of intrigue to the 1953 D wheat penny. A clipped planchet error occurs when the metal blank is cut incorrectly, leaving the coin with a missing piece, almost as if someone took a bite out of it. These errors are fascinating to collectors because they show the imperfections of the minting process and create a coin unlike any other. Combine a clipped planchet with a visible date and mint mark from 1953D, and you have a highly valuable coin that pushes the boundaries of rarity. Some of the rarest errors are wrong metal strikes. Occasionally, pennies were accidentally struck on planchets meant for other coins, such as dimes or foreign currency blanks. This means you might find a 1953D penny that is smaller, lighter, or a different color than it should be because it was struck on the wrong type of metal. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly valuable, as they represent major mistakes in the minting process that should never have happened. If a 1953D penny was struck on a silver dime planchet, for example, it would instantly become one of the most unique and valuable coins in existence. The intrigue around the 1953D penny doesn't just come from these individual errors but from the possibility of combinations. Imagine a coin that is not only a double die but also has a repunched mint mark and is struck off-center. The odds of such a combination existing are astronomically low, but that's precisely why collectors are fascinated by the hunt. Each error adds another layer of rarity, and when combined, they create a coin so unique that its value skyrockets into the hundreds of millions. Collectors and investors are constantly searching for these hidden gems. Stories abound of people finding rare pennies in their pocket change, at flea markets, or tucked away in old jars of coins left behind by grandparents. The idea that a single penny, overlooked for decades, could suddenly be worth hundreds of millions of dollars captures the imagination like few other stories can. The 1953D penny is one such story, and it reminds us that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. Over the years, auction houses have seen remarkable sales of error coins, with some pennies selling for tens of thousands, others for hundreds of thousands, and the rarest reaching into the millions. The 1953D wheat penny, with its array of possible errors, has reached legendary status among collectors. The figure of $410 million represents not just the value of a coin, but the excitement, passion, and history tied to its existence. But why do collectors place such high values on coins like this? The answer lies in the principle of rarity and demand. The fewer examples that exist of a particular error, the more collectors are willing to pay to own one. Add to that the historical significance of the Lincoln wheat penny, which was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real person, and you have a coin that appeals to both history enthusiasts and investors. The Denver mint mark adds another layer of fascination, as the minting practices of the time left room for unique anomalies that are now prized by numismatists. Now, let's take a deeper dive into the culture of coin collecting itself. Collectors often say that every coin has a story, and with the 1953D penny, that story is one of imperfection becoming perfection in the eyes of collectors. The coin represents how small mistakes can lead to extraordinary outcomes, and how something as overlooked as a penny can become a symbol of rarity and fortune. It is also a reminder of how technology and human craftsmanship intersected in the 1950s, leaving behind traces of human error that today are valued more than flawless examples. The wheat penny series as a whole has long been a favorite among collectors. Beginning in 1909 with the first Lincoln cent, these coins ran until 1958, after which they were replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse. For nearly 50 years, the wheat penny was a staple of American life, and millions were struck each year. Yet within those millions, a tiny fraction contained the errors that today make them treasures. The 1953D is a prime example of this, representing the perfect mix of historical significance, rarity, and collector demand. As we explore this further, let's consider the psychological allure of rare coins. People have always been fascinated by the idea of owning something unique, something no one else has. It's the same principle that drives art auctions where paintings sell for hundreds of millions, or collectors who pay fortunes for rare stamps, sports memorabilia. Today we are talking about the legendary 1955 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that has become famous all over the world among collectors, dealers, and numismatists, and a coin that under rare conditions has been valued as high as $380 million, making it one of the most valuable coins to ever exist, not because of gold or silver content, not because of sheer rarity in the sense of being ancient, but because of the mistakes and minting errors that made it different from ordinary coins and gave it an identity of its own. The story of the 1955 penny is a story that teaches us that small details matter, that what looks like a simple everyday object can hold secrets worth millions if you know how to recognize them. For decades now, coin enthusiasts have hunted tirelessly for these unique examples, and their discovery has brought fortune to some and fascination to all who learn about it. So let us dive deep into the world of the 1955 wheat penny, the coin that carries the Lincoln portrait on one side and wheat stalks on the other, but also carries the legacy of one of the most famous minting eras in United States history. To understand why the 1955 wheat penny became so valuable, we need to step back and remember the context in which it was made. The year was 1955, the United States was in a post-war economic boom, and the US Mint was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of coins for circulation. The Lincoln cent had already been around since 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1955, Americans were very familiar with the design, with Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat reverse that symbolized prosperity and agriculture, which lasted until 1958. But what nobody expected that year was that a mechanical mistake in the minting process would produce one of the most famous error coins of all time. That mistake is what we now call the 1955 double die penny. A double die happens when the hub that impresses the design onto a die shifts slightly between impressions, resulting in a coin that shows doubling of its letters, numbers, and details. In the case of the 1955 penny, the doubling is dramatic and obvious. The word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date 1955 on the obverse all appear double to the naked eye, making it one of the most striking and unmistakable errors ever released into circulation. Unlike minor double dies where you need magnification to notice the difference, the 1955 double die penny is so bold that anyone could recognize it at a glance. What makes this coin even more special is that despite being a clear mistake, thousands of them entered circulation. Estimates suggest that perhaps 20,000 to 24,000 of these coins were mixed in with regular 1955 pennies and distributed to the public before the error was noticed. Imagine being someone in 1955 who received one of these pennies in your change at a grocery store or a gas station, unaware that it would one day become one of the most sought-after coins in the country. People used them, spent them, saved them, and slowly the coin began to attract attention among collectors who realized just how special it was. Now, the ordinary 1955 penny without errors is just a wheat penny like many others, usually worth only a few cents above face value in circulated condition, and maybe a couple of dollars in mint state. But the double die variety is a completely different story. Its fame grew so quickly that it became one of the most recognized error coins in the world, often being the first error coin that new collectors learn about. Its value skyrocketed as demand grew and supply remained fixed because no new ones would ever be made. Over the years, pristine examples in uncirculated condition sold for thousands and then tens of thousands of dollars at auctions, but what pushes the legend even further are the rare conditions and anomalies that make certain 1955 pennies worth not just thousands, not just millions, but in theory hundreds of millions of dollars. These possibilities come from extreme cases of rarity, provenance, condition, and unique variations. When a coin combines all of these factors, it can achieve astronomical valuations, because collectors and investors are willing to pay enormous sums for something that is absolutely unique, unrepeatable, and historically important. For example, think about a 1955 double die penny that remains in perfect condition, graded at the highest possible mint state, with flawless surfaces and sharp details. Only a handful of such coins exist, and when they appear at auction they attract fierce bidding wars. Add to that the fact that some coins are discovered with additional anomalies such as off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or unique toning, and suddenly you have a specimen that no other collector can match. When billionaires and museums enter the bidding, prices can reach levels that seem unimaginable. This is why, in discussions of extreme rarity and value, some numismatic experts and enthusiasts speculate on the idea of a single 1955 wheat penny achieving a valuation of $380 million. It may sound unbelievable at first, but when you consider the history of other collectibles, such as paintings, diamonds, or sports memorabilia, which have sold for hundreds of millions, it begins to make sense. The coin market has already seen sales of individual coins in the tens of millions, and the 1955 double die penny has the notoriety, the fame, and the story to potentially rival those prices in the right circumstances. Part of the fascination with this coin also comes from the stories of discovery. Many people found these coins in pocket change during the late 1950s and 1960s, keeping them as curiosities. Families would pass them down through generations, often not realizing just how valuable they were becoming. Stories circulate of someone pulling one from a jar of pennies, only to later learn it was worth a small fortune. This sense of hidden treasure excites people even today, inspiring them to check every penny they come across, just in case. The minting process itself is key to understanding how such an error occurred. In the 1950s, dies were created by impressing the coin's design multiple times using a hub. If the hub and the die were not perfectly aligned on successive impressions, doubling could occur. Normally, such an error would be caught and corrected before coins were released, but in 1955, the mistake slipped through. Because the doubling was so strong, the coins that resulted became instantly recognizable. Unlike many minor double dies where only experts can spot the difference, collectors categorize coins by rarity, demand, and condition, and the 1955 double die penny checks all three boxes in an extraordinary way. It is rare because only a limited number exist, it has overwhelming demand because of its fame, and in high condition it becomes almost priceless. That combination is what makes it legendary. But beyond the standard double die, other varieties of the 1955 penny also intrigue collectors. There are minor double dies, die cracks, cuds, off-center strikes, and even counterfeit versions that circulated because of the coin's fame. Each of these tells its own story and can add value in certain contexts. Some collectors specialize in assembling complete sets of 1955 varieties, while others search for the single best example they can find. What pushes the coin into the realm of hundreds of millions is not just the physical rarity, but the cultural and historical importance. The 1955 double die penny is a symbol of era collecting, a coin that even people outside the numismatic world have heard about. It appears in magazines, documentaries, and educational materials as an example of how a mistake can become a masterpiece. When something reaches that level of fame, its value is no longer just about the metal or the grade, but about its place in culture. Over the decades, auction records for the 1955 penny have steadily climbed. Early sales might have been for a few $100s, which at the time seemed incredible for a penny. By the 1970s and 1980s, prices were in the thousands, and by the 2000s, tens of thousands. Today, depending on condition, a genuine 1955 double die penny can sell for anywhere from a few thousand to over $100,000. And yet, that is still just the baseline. In theory, if a perfect example with unique provenance surfaced, its valuation could soar beyond imagination. The psychological factor also plays a role. Collectors and investors are not just buying a coin, they are buying a story, a piece of history, a conversation piece that connects them to a larger narrative. Owning a 1955 double die penny, especially in top condition, is like holding a legend in your hand. That feeling is something people are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for, and so, the myth of the 1955 wheat penny continues to grow. Every year new collectors learn about it, every year more people check their change, and every year the demand grows while the supply stays fixed. The idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth $380 million captures the imagination because it shows that value is not always about intrinsic worth but about rarity, error, and human fascination. The 1955 penny has earned its place among the most famous coins in the world. It reminds us that mistakes can sometimes create beauty, that ordinary objects can hold extraordinary value, and that history often hides treasures in plain sight. Whether you are a seasoned collector or someone just beginning to explore coins, the story of the 1955 double die penny is one that will inspire you to look closer, to pay attention to detail.